Okay, if you've watched the video on the currency matrix, which we've now ported over onto the TradingView platform, I'm delighted to say that our development team have also been working hard on developing the currency array, which is the one you see before you here on the 3 timeframes. I've moved the timeframes down a little bit, so it's not quite so frenetic. I've got the 5-minute on the left here. So this is the 5-minute time frame, the 10-minute time frame, and I've got the 15-minute time frame over here. And I have to say, absolutely delighted that we've been able to port this onto the platform, because these 4 indicators constitute what we call the currency dashboard. That's the currency strength indicator, the currency matrix, this one, the currency array, and the currency heat map. And they are the 4 specific primary indicators which give you all the information about the currency flows that are constantly oscillating from overbought to oversold, whether that's as a currency or whether it's a currency pair. The journey that the currency markets travel on is this continuous one. It is like an oscilloscope. It's a sinusoidal journey, if you will, from the top to the bottom and back again, because unlike any other market, no currency pair ever stays, or indeed a currency ever stays overbought or oversold forever. It cannot. It has to move. It will constantly flow from one to the other, from overbought to oversold and back again. That's what we're always looking for. So I'm delighted to announce the currency array here and to show you it in operation, again on 3 time horizons. But as I said when I was explaining the currency matrix and the difference between the 2 indicators, and I'll do a video where I've got them both in operation side by side with some charts, perhaps set all that up as well. The difference primarily is that the currency array is looking for a longer term view, a longer term perspective on strength and weakness in the currency pairs. Whereas the currency matrix works very close to the price action, like the trends indicator, the trend dots on the chart, the currency array is very akin to the trend monitor, where it takes a more considered view of price action. It's looking at it on a longer perspective in terms of the look back period. Now, what the currency array also delivers is this very visual perspective, where you see not only the strength of the trend, so the angle of inclination of the line here will give you a strong perspective on where the strongest trends are, where trends are pretty weak. And this, of course, will align with the CSI. So, for example, if you were to look, you can see the New Zealand Swiss here in the middle, not really going anywhere right now. And that's probably because on the currency strength indicator on this time horizon, the New Zealand and the Swiss are probably traveling in the same direction, and hence, as I said on that video, you don't see any trend there because the 2 currencies themselves are traveling in a similar trajectory. Now, what you do see with this is this wonderful sweeping motion. So if I just isolate out for a moment, let's just do, and this is exactly the same on the matrix, just go into settings here. Let's isolate out on the Aussie, because there seems to be quite a lot of Aussie buying going on at the moment. So let's just isolate out the Aussie. Just click the OK there. And that will bring up the Aussie for us. Let's just pull that down a little bit. There we go. What we're seeing here is a visual representation of which currencies in the Aussie complex are moving the most stronger, the strongest of the trend. And you can see here it's obviously in the Aussie dollar. And down here we've got the Euro Aussie, which is the weakest. So in terms of where that strength, that buying of Aussie is the strongest, certainly against the dollar, the yen and the CAD, not so strong against the Swiss franc and the New Zealand dollar, but pretty strong against a pound and against the euro. So it gives you that visual perspective. What it also does, as you can see, is it's like a radar, this sweeping motion, because if you're trading one of these pairs in the complex, in the Aussie complex, so one of the pairs you're trading is an Aussie, what you want to see is these all sweeping up to join the top here. In other words, the Aussie, New Zealand, Aussie, Swiss, these moving up in that sweeping motion and these down at the bottom falling away more strongly, because that is telling you visually that the particular strength in the Aussie, the buying of the Aussie, is continuing, and it's being joined by these other pairs, its brothers and sisters, which are moving up to join it. And if you go back to my analogy of earlier on about the river of sentiment, it is all about that, because if you're trading an Aussie pair right now, you want to be trading with everybody else, and what they're all doing at the moment in terms of the 5-minute time horizon, at any rate, is everybody, the market per se, is pretty much universally buying the Aussie. If we step over onto the 10-minute, let's just isolate out the Aussie here. Do the same process, just click on that. There we go, click on the Aussie. There we go. Just move that down a little bit so you can see the top of the chart there. And what you will find is, in exactly the same way as the matrix, if this is a continuation of that particular sentiment towards the Aussie, then these will climb up here. And equally, these will start to join their brothers and sisters at the top here, and the Euro Aussie will fall further down to the Pound Aussie at the bottom. And equally, you can step over then onto the 15, do exactly the same, isolate out. Oh, sorry. There we go, click on that. Click on the Aussie, there we go. Just click on OK, that will filter on that. There we go. So in terms of what is happening here is we have strong buying the Aussie on the 5-minute, certainly reflected over on the 10, and we really want to see this reflected further onto the 15, which means that strength of trend is continuing across this time window, across our time horizon, across our trading perspective, if you will. And ultimately, if it does continue in this vein, then these will all move up. This Aussie Swiss, which is below the midpoint fulcrum of 0, if you like. This one we want to see moving up. We want to see this continuation. We want to see this continuing higher. Now, if this trend is going to come to an end at this point, in other words, we're going to start to see selling of the Aussie and selling of the Aussie, then obviously what's going to happen over the 15 ultimately is these are going to fall down the ranking ladder, and at the other extreme, these are going to rise up. But it just gives you a fantastic perspective on the strength of trend, because the angle of inclination here tells you which pairs are the strongest in the trend and which are less strong. And if you're in one of those, it's just a great confidence builder to stay in that particular trend. And of course, when they move as well, as they're moving on the chart, of course you always use everything in combination with a chart. As these trends develop, then these will sweep down and these will sweep up, and they'll just give you that confidence, because it's like a radar. It's like if you've ever seen a sweeping radar, it's literally like this, and they all sweep up to the top. The best one to see this on is actually the yen. When the yen's moving strongly, because the yen is the counter currency on all the currency pairs, then you will get them either all at the top, in other words, they'll all be above the fulcrum, the 0, and they'll all be up here if it's selling of the yen, or if it's buying of the yen, they'll all be down at the bottom here. So it's just a great visual way. So that's just part of the currency array, and you'll see that reflected down here. Now the second column, let's just move over to this one. The second column here on the right hand side is one we developed to give you a sense of when a currency pair is moving to an overbought or oversold state. You can see on here, and perhaps you can see it over here as well. Let's just drag this down a little bit, just keep it in view. When a pair is approaching an overbought or oversold state, then it will appear with this darker background and the little brackets either side, which will tell you we are approaching an overbought state. We're not at one yet, but we are approaching an overbought state. Equally down here at the bottom, when we're approaching an oversold state, it is darker red and it has the brackets around it. Now, once that currency pair or currency pairs reach an overbought or oversold state, and two things happen. First of all, the color changes to bright blue, so no longer dark blue, and the brackets disappear. In addition to that, what you'll see over here on the array itself is the line here will become solid to indicate that potentially that currency pair is at an overbought or oversold condition. But of course, you then go to the chart. You're looking at it from the chart perspective to see whether that is occurring on your time horizon, what is happening in terms of the volume perspective. Are we seeing buying? Are we seeing a buying climax, a selling climax? Are we reaching a support and resistance level? Are we at are we at a volume point of control, for example? Are we at a high volume area where we're going to see some congestion build from a volume perspective, and so on and so forth? But again, this is your window into the Forex market and all the various aspects of it that you need to see visually. And that's what an indicator does. It gives you all that visual information very quickly. It's very intuitive, it's very visual, and it helps you to guide you to where you should be putting your effort in. And also, once you're in there, it helps to give you the confidence to stay in because you see all this information visually on the various indicators on the currency dashboard. So that's the currency array. Very exciting. Please use it in combination with the currency matrix because that's how it's been developed to work. You know, the two of them together, they complement one another, one working very close to the market, the other stepped away. In addition to that, on the currency array, you get this ranking ladder, which gives you, potential conditions of overbought and oversold. Go and have a look at the charts as they appear. Once they reach those conditions, it may be an opportunity to take a reversal trade if reversal trading is your bag. Alternatively, you wait until that trend reversal has started to develop. In other words, the train has now left the station. We're underway. The trend is moving, and therefore, jumping on a trend, you need to put you can put a much tighter stop loss in position. If you're trading extremes, you've got to put wider stop losses in. It's a simpler fact of life, because the payoff is you're paid a higher reward because you've put more risk on the table. The risk you put on the table is a wider stop loss when you're trading from overbought and oversold, but the payoff is much greater because you're getting into the trend very early, in fact before it starts. If you're jumping on the moving train once it's underway, that's all well and good. You're jumping on a trend that's already well developed, and you're going to take maybe a middle third out of it, and you put a much tighter stop loss on. So you're putting lower risk on, but then your reward is much lower because you haven't got the potential of the whole trend. 30 or 40% of that trend maybe is already gone. It's history. You can't claw that back. So you're jumping into the trend later. The person who's jumped in at the start of it has already had that benefit, but then they put a bigger price on the table to gain that advantage over you. It's what suits you. Some people like trading reversals, others prefer trading trends. Some people like trading breakouts, congestion phases, swing trading trend. It's all down to what your characteristics are as a trader and what suits you. It's not what suits me, it's not what suits Anna, it's what suits you as a trader. And that's what you've got to find out to really create the environment that you're going to for success for you as a trader. You have to find out what you're comfortable with, because if you're trying to do something you're not comfortable with, it's not going to work. It's as simple as that. So find out and that's why we will say in the program, the personality module, which is big, it's got 8 PDF downloads and there's a lot to it, is really to help you. And there's a big personality assessment in there, a test that you take to really help you understand yourself and your characteristics, to try to guide you to what is going to help you most to make the most of your strengths, to manage your weaknesses, because we've all got weaknesses, and to really set yourself up so that you give yourself the best chance of success in however you approach your trading, and what tactic or tactical approach is going to suit you best and give you the best opportunity for success. You can see that's carrying on at the moment in terms of the Aussie. So we've still got the Aussie buying going on. It's pretty strong at the moment, and if we're seeing the Aussie being bought, then I can assure you one thing: it's a risk currency, and I don't need to look at a chart to tell you that almost certainly equity markets will be rising on the strength of that as well, and we'll probably see the same sort of effect in terms of the Canadian dollar and also New Zealand dollar, but not always. You can see New Zealand is up here as well: New Zealand dollar, New Zealand yen, New Zealand Swiss CAD. It's what I would expect to see. And as I said on the currency matrix and also the currency array videos, in the commodity currencies, generally speaking, you will see them moving around in lockstep, as you would expect to see also the dollar and the Swiss franc and the yen moving in similar directions as well as a group of three, as indeed do the commodity currencies. So there we go, terrific indicator. We're absolutely delighted. I can't tell you how pleased we are to actually have this available now on TradingView. And it really does bring together everything. And we will, of course, as I said earlier, be putting together in the currency dashboard package, which brings all these indicators together for $497 as the currency dashboard for you, your 4 primary indicators. That's the currency strength indicator, the currency matrix, the currency array, and the currency heat map will all be available for you as a package on TradingView. Very exciting. Can't thank our developers enough. It's just wonderful, wonderful to see it in action at last. It's been a little while, in fact longer than we had hoped, but here we are at last. So I hope you've enjoyed this particular video. Thank you very much indeed for watching. See you again soon, and bye for now.